Good morning and welcome to Coffee and Cosmos with Robin. My name is Robin Fritz, and today I want to talk about current events, meaning hurricanes, weather, and what that means for us. And it was a change of subject because of the rapid approach of a Category 4 hurricane towards the east coast of the United States. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit and also take some questions, share our thoughts and feelings here today. So again, welcome. My name is Robin Fritz. This is Coffee and Cosmos with Robin. It's an opportunity most Mondays for us to connect here at Humanity Healing and chat about the things that are important to us and to the world as a community. So again, welcome. My name is Robin Fritz. I'm an intuitive and spiritual consultant and past life regression specialist. I'm based in Seattle, Washington. Today, I want to change the subject from what I was going to talk about and talk about what hurricanes are, their role in the world, how we can approach them wherever we are in the world when we become aware of one. So as we get into that session today, I want to thank you for joining me. I want to say hello to everybody. It's such a thrill and honor to be here with you each week. And let's start today with a quick connection with Fallon, the citrine Lemurian quartz. This connection will help you, hi Wendy, help you get balanced and grounded in the space with us today. Just take a time out from your busy day to be here in this wonderful community that Om Times has created for us. So if you take your attention to the top of your head, just imagine we're connecting mind, body, and spirit together, and you'll experience this however your intuition works most strongly. So take your attention to the top of your head, and as we breathe down our body, just going to release the cares of the day and get us all settled here together. So breathing down from the top of your head, down your face, your shoulders, your chest, your hips, your knees, and your feet. The top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And just feel yourself getting settled in your chair, just getting ready here to have a conversation with us. Thank you all again for joining us today. And now as we breathe up from the bottom of our feet to the top of your head, imagine you're connecting with Fallon's energy. You may feel his energy. You may just know you're connected. You may hear him tell you a joke. Or really today's topic is very serious. You may hear him be very solemn. Or you may see him. Some people see a gold man or a colored gold light. So moving up from your feet, past your knees, your hips, your chest, your shoulders, your face, and the top of your head. So again, thank you for joining me today. I decided at the last minute this morning to talk about hurricanes, which I have not yet done this year, although I did last year on my radio show and on Facebook Live. And the reason I want to talk with you about hurricanes is because I know from my personal experience, which is all most of us can really talk about, that everything on the planet is alive. Everything has consciousness, a soul, a job to do, a choice about doing that job, and which means free will, and of course, opinions. And one of the most powerful beings on our planets are the very short-lived, but often very powerful forces that we know as hurricanes. And I honestly did not know that humans can have an effect on weather. Excuse me, we're still dealing with wildfire smoke in Seattle, so I'm still clearing my lungs. That humans can have an effect on weather just as weather has an effect on the planet. And back in, I believe it was 2004, I was watching a news report of a hurricane named Charley as it went across the state of Florida here in the United States. Now, I know hurricanes affect all parts of the world, not so much way inland because they're ocean-based systems, or in the Pacific, they're known as typhoons. But really, this conversation extends to all kinds of weather systems, from rain to snow to wind, and of course, to the topic of today, hurricanes. So I was watching a weather report on Hurricane Charley, and all of a sudden I realized that as a hurricane moves across the area that it's in, everything in its path has a choice to stay or to go, to die. And as I was watching this, I saw a roof blow off a building behind the person on TV, and a little bush hang on to the ground and just stay there. And I realized that while we don't like to see things that destroy our homes and our businesses and hurt people, it's not the intention of a weather system to hurt us. It's the effect of what happens as it moves on. And I was so amazed at this power of this hurricane to cleanse the land that I said, oh my gosh, Hurricane Charley, you're amazing. And you can imagine how astounded I was to hear this voice, very deep voice in my head go, my name is not Charley, it is Hawoosh. And I'm like, okay, what just happened? And as a result, I started talking with hurricanes, and with the beings that create them, I call them hurricane bosses, because I personally have a hard time with the word God and goddess. That's my problem, not anyone else's. So as a result of working with hurricanes and watching what they do, and then having a conversation with a hurricane, and her name was Ophelia, and I believe that was in 2005. And I'm sorry, I decided this subject with 10 minutes before broadcast, so I couldn't look up the dates, but I believe it was 2005, after Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Rita here in the United States. Hurricane Ophelia was churning off the East Coast. Yes, Hawoosh, it's exactly how I would spell that name, Kathleen. Hurricane Ophelia said, I would like to talk with you about what hurricanes do. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I was like, just amazed that I was having a conversation with a hurricane. And she showed me this giant pot, like a stew or a soup, and it had cooked so hard that you could hardly stir it up. So it was like sludge instead of soup. And she was showing me that that was happening to the Gulf Stream, which flows from the American body of water there, the Gulf Coast area, and then on up the East Coast of the United States and way up north. And it showed me that the Gulf Stream, as we call it, was slowing down. And the description she showed me was, she showed me a picture, okay, so you're talking about clairvoyance here. She showed me a picture of the soup getting really stuck. And she said the problem was that hurricanes regulate the weather on the planet. They're one of the reasons, besides volcanoes, why the planet is alive in the first place, in terms of providing atmosphere and just everything that we have here to survive on the planet. And she said the Gulf Stream was slowing down. And she showed me what would happen if that happened. If the Gulf Stream slows down, it stops and the planet freezes. Starting all the way up north, taking Europe, England, or Great Britain, United States, all of the northern hemisphere, and then gradually the entire planet freezes. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to show you the role of these magnificent systems. And as to counteract this, because the hurricanes were becoming increasingly disturbed at how difficult it was to keep the Gulf Stream moving, they were coming in increasing force to stir up the Gulf Stream so that it didn't become that sludgy pot of soup that Hurricane Ophelia was showing me. Well, that was astonishing, right? And several months later, I saw an article online from a science journal detailing 30 years of research on weather patterns and climate patterns, and all our hurricanes here on the east coast of the United States and southeast and northern United States come from Africa. And they were showing 30 years of research, which told us the same thing that Hurricane Ophelia had told me in 10 minutes. And one thing it taught me was that there should be a way for people like me who can talk with things and kind of act as intermediaries between non-humans and humans, if to be there and working with scientists. If there had been scientists sitting with me at the moment that Hurricane Ophelia and I were chatting, or Hurricane Charley, or all of the hurricanes I've talked with since, that could ask the questions that a climatologist would ask, that a meteorologist would ask. How much more could we learn about how the world operates just by having people like me be intermediaries? It's not that we're important, because we're not. We're just like United Nations, the people who translate the different languages so that everybody can hear what's going on. But more important than that is the role that each one of us can have when we think about our weather. Now, in Seattle this year, we have dealt for the second year in a row with extreme smoke from wildfires completely surrounding us. Western Washington, Eastern Washington, Canada, Oregon, and California. And the East Coast has dealt with a lot of rain. And we're seeing what scientists call climate change. I see it differently than that. I don't see global warming. I see what the hurricanes have shown me. I see a coming ice age, which is significantly different and far more terrifying. Because historically, in the pattern of our planet, ice ages have lasted for hundreds of thousands of years, whereas warming periods have lasted for 8,000 to 10,000 years at most, sometimes only a couple hundred. And I'm not discounting either one. I'm just saying that here's a role for us to play on the planet, and that is to add our human love for the planet to what we see happening in the world around us. Meaning that humans do have the power to interfere with the work of any kind of system on the planet, including a rainstorm, including a snowstorm, and including the path of a hurricane. Now, I am not saying it's wonderful for people to lose their homes or to be injured or even killed, or animals or trees or buildings or anything. I'm not saying it's wonderful. What I'm saying is that the role of a hurricane is to cleanse the land and the water that it flows over. And that is its job to do, to keep the planet alive. And everything in the path of that hurricane has a choice, whether to live or die. We as humans have a choice to move away from areas of the land that are really suffering, like the Florida Everglades, for example, like all of the ocean communities, and choose, as the hurricanes have asked us to do, to move into larger cities to reduce our population and to leave more pieces of land there for the hurricanes to help cleanse. Because it isn't just about Americans. It isn't just about our brothers and sisters on different islands or different continents. This is about the welfare of the planet. And this is about what the planet is doing and has been doing since it was created. So what can we do? Hurricane Florence will approach and will land on the east coast of the United States, most likely as a Category 4 hurricane. There are two other very large hurricanes coming behind it that will affect the east coast and the southeast coast of the United States, not to mention the island nations and that are in that path, which we're all aware of, like Puerto Rico, like the Dominican Republic, like Bermuda. And really, Mexico and that area south of the Gulf, the Gulf Coast. So here's what you can do. Whenever it's raining and you're sitting in traffic or you're going, oh my gosh, it's ruined my day, say, I thank you, rain, and I bless you on your way. Say to Hurricane Florence, thank you for doing your job, and I bless you on your way. Thank the two hurricanes that are following along behind her. This hurricane season will last until, I know that they have a specific season, but I'm seeing at least until December 1st. Because they have a job to do, and we have a job to do as citizens of the planet, and that is to work as one unit supporting our evolving conscious planet. So every time someone says, I hate you, hurricane, whatever your name is, or go away, I hate you, that puts up an energy block. Okay, and that energy block will impede its path. We'll keep the rain from falling. We'll make too much rainfall. We'll make it go to a different place. It really is not that complicated when you look at it. So here's what you do. You thank every hurricane that you see on the planet for doing its job. We don't make judgments about what that looks like. We act like hurricanes are killers. They're not. They're magnificent beings who are created to cleanse the planet, and without them, we will all die. I know, it sounds crazy, Robert, but it's true. And I go out and I tell these stories because I'm one of the people that can hear all these different things, what they have to say about themselves, and because I'm interested in them. And I honestly didn't know back in 2004 that we could have a conversation with a hurricane. But there is a long history of humans actually doing things like rain dances and so on to bring rain in different areas. And there's a very small subset of the population that actually hires themselves out to produce rain in different parts of the world. And that's what they do. So what I'm saying to you is the world is more magnificent than we know. It is more amazing and more complicated. And think about it, and think about how we just react to the weather in our area on any given day. Whether we're too hot and we're saying, I wish it would cool off, whether it's too much rain, whether it's a windy day, and just thank the weather for being there, for doing what it does. I know for us here in Seattle this year, it's been hard to be grateful when we're smothering in wildfire smoke. And we can't really be grateful for wildfire smoke, but we can be grateful for the planet trying to stabilize itself and move on. So there will come a time when scientists and intuitives like me and all of us who are just everyday people come together to talk about the larger forces that are at work in our planet. What I'm asking you today is just to think for yourself, whether it's possible in your worldview that it's true, that hurricanes are created on a schedule by what I call hurricane bosses, that they have a job to do and we have a job to do, and we can all get together as members of one planet to support each other. And that's really what I wanted to say to everyone today. I know some people, Kathleen, I appreciate your support here. I know some people are going to say, wow, this is too crazy for me. That's fine. You know, we all change and grow at our own rate. And some people are never going to agree exactly on everything. And that's fine, too. I think what's really important is for us to have an honest, open conversation about what we see out there and how we see it and where we're going for it. So take this story out and share it with your friends and your family and your neighbors, and see if just the concept that we can support all life by honoring the job that it's created to do, that doesn't make the world more magnificent in our eyes, more amazing for us, and really give us more respect for all of the things that we're not really aware of that are still happening out there in the world. The fact that something like a hurricane can be created to help keep the planet healthy. And in fact, it does. If you look at the statistics, at what happens after major hurricanes or tsunamis, how the land and the ocean is all cleaned up in the area as best it can be. We're all in it together, all right? And that's the best that I can say there. So if anybody has any last questions, I'll go through here and see if we have any last questions, any comments. I appreciate you all being here. Appreciate your being open. You either let me know other topics that you'd like us to cover. Wendy, I'm not quite sure about your question. But anyway, pass it on. Think about it. I know I was really, really surprised to talk to a hurricane, but I also know that anybody can just by saying hello. And I want you to be aware that by being angry about something that's coming at us actually can impede things or even make them worse in terms of the effects. Just as imagine that two humans having a conversation, get angry and mad at each other. Is anything resolved there, or is there just this huge energy block between them? So think about it. Those are one of the many things that I talk about on my radio show. This afternoon on my radio show, I'm talking about what intuition is, how we can distinguish intuition from something else. Lots of stories, everyday stories that we can all relate to. And next week, we're going to talk about when your intuition is working. If you have any more questions on this, let me know what you are thinking, any questions that you have. Today, the crystal of the week, really, I want to offer you Fallon to think about. Fallon is citrine Lemurian quartz. Citrine Lemurian quartz is very rare in itself, but any kind of quartz is great for us to keep our energy clear, to help us assimilate new ideas, see where they fit in our overall scheme of our life. Quartz is pretty easy to obtain. Lemurian quartz is a little bit more difficult, but you can get Lemurian quartz. There are little Lemurian quartz seed points. I call them Fallon babies, just because they're related to Fallon. But for today, I'd like to invite you to join me on my radio show this afternoon at ohmtimes.com, The Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It airs every Monday at 2 Pacific time, 5 Eastern here in the United States. It's international reach. You are welcome to call in with comments, with questions. I do quick readings on the show, but we're going to be full of stories today. And I invite you to think about this, and as wherever you are in the world, and as we see the effects of this Hurricane Florence this week, look at it and bless her on her way, and just give her the benefit of our doubt that she's doing the job that she was created to do. She has a choice on whether to do it. And it's tough for anything to be in a situation where everybody's eyes are on you, even a hurricane. So I want to thank you for joining us today and for joining us each week at this great forum that Om Times has created for us. And now as we close out for today, get us grounded back in our bodies. If you cross your hands on your heart and just breathe in, feeling that healthy energy, and just imagine your body getting grounded and balanced. Sometimes in connection with Fallon, even online like this, our crown chakras are wide open, a little bit lightheaded. So I thank you for joining me today. I will look forward to sharing time with you next week. I'm here most Mondays, except okay, Anne, yes, I have heard of HARP, and I'm telling you what, let's see if you can read your question here. No, I'm not helping any cabal, and hurricanes do cleanse the land. Take a look at it and what happens this week and see what you think. I'm not involved with government agencies or supporting us, But do take a look at all the different things that there are out there and see what works for you, because on any sort of situation, we're all in it together. We're all here helping to live the best lives we can and help our brothers and sisters, whatever form they're in, live the best lives they can. So take care, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.